Hello, this is Slate with Combo of Rocks, bringing you another video deck tech of a deck that we built by request and sold. If you're not familiar with us, we make and sell custom budget EDH decks. These decks are light on the budget, so they may not be optimal or competitive, but they're definitely fun and centered around a central theme that you can build on. So today we have Zilthora, Strength Incarnate. The customer actually has the Godzilla version, so this isn't included in the deck, but I did have a copy of it so that you could see it and its abilities. So it's 3 green red for a 7/3 legendary dinosaur with trample. Lethal damage dealt to creatures you control is determined by their power rather than their toughness. So basically it's a 7/7 unless you give it -X, then it would die to anything that would give it -X3 on the toughness. Other than that, it's basically your power is almost like your toughness, but let's get into the deck. Obviously power driven. Tuya Bearclaw, 1 green red for a 2/2 legendary human warrior. When it attacks, it gets +X until end of turn, where X is the greatest power among other creatures you control. We have Halana Kessig Ranger, which is actually an alternate commander option with another card. 3 green for a 3/4 legendary human archer with reach. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you can pay 2 colorless. When you do, that creature deals damage equal to its power to target creature. It does have partner, so in order to be the commander of a red-green deck, it has to have a red partner. So Dargo the Shipwrecker, 6 and a red for a 7/5 legendary giant pirate. Its initial cost to cast a spell, you may sacrifice any number of artifacts or creatures. This spell costs 2 less to cast for each permanent sacrifice this way, and 2 less to cast for each artifact you've sacrificed this way. It's got trample and partner. Partners with Halana, obviously. There are some combos if this is your commander in the deck. Let's get into a combo piece with that, which is Thermopod. 4 red for a 4/3 snow creature slug. You can pay a snow to give it haste, and sack a creature to add red, which is also a snow mana because it is a snow creature. This combined with Dargo allows you to cast Dargo infinitely from the command zone as long as you've sacrificed enough permanents to cover his cost. This would allow you to reuse Halana's enter the battlefield effect and any other enter the battlefield effects with creatures power 3 or greater, or 4 or greater, or even 7, which we'll get into. So we have Ash Root Animist, 2 green red for a 4/4 lizard druid to trample. When it attacks another target attacking creature, he gains trample and +X until end of turn, where X is the creature's power. Domri Anarcha Bolus, 1 green red for 3 loyalty Domri. Creatures you control get +1/+0, +1, add a red or green. Creatures creature spells you cast can't be countered this turn. -2, target creature you control fights a creature you don't control. Cindervines, green red for an enchantment. Whenever opponent casts a non-creature spell, it deals 1 damage to that player. Pay 1, sack it, destroy an artifact or enchantment, and it deals 2 damage to that permanent's controller. Sarkhan's Unsealing, 3 and a red for an enchantment. Whenever you cast a creature spell with power 4, 5, or 6, it deals 4 damage to any target. Whenever you cast a creature spell with set power 7 or greater, it deals 4 damage to each opponent and each creature and planeswalker they control. Great with your commander, but also great with Dargo. Where Ancients Tread, 4 and red enchantment. Whenever a creature with power 5 or greater comes into play under your control, you can have it deal 5 damage to target creature or player. Again, great with our commander or Dargo. Berserker's Onslaught, 3 red enchantment. Attacking creatures you control have double strike. Great with big power. Fiendish Duos, 4 red for a 5/5 devil with first strike. If a source would deal damage to an opponent, it deals double that damage to that player instead. Crater Hellion, 4 red for a 6/6 Hellion Beast with Echo, 4 red. So on your next upkeep, you do have to pay that cost or sack it. When it enters, it deals 4 damage to each other creature. Flamekin Herald, 2 red for a 3/2 Elemental Wizard. Commander spells you control or you cast have Cascade. Again, great with Dargo, but just great with your commander in general. Shatter Skull Charger, 1 red for a 4/3 Giant Warrior with Kicker 2, Trample and Haste. If it was kicked, it enters with a 1/1 counter on it. On your end step, if it doesn't have a 1/1 counter on it, return it to its owner's hand, which is again great with any of the cards that care about casting spells and creatures with power 3 or 4 or greater. Galta, Primal Hunger, 10 green for a 12/12 legendary Elder Dinosaur. It costs X less to cast, where X is the total power of creatures you control, and it has trample. Shamanic Revelation, 3 green, sorcery, draw a card for each creature you control. If you gain 4 life for each creature you control with power 4 or greater. Return of the Wild Speaker, 4 and a green, instant, choose 1. Draw cards equal to the greatest power among non-human creatures you control, or non-human creatures you control get +3/+3 until end of turn. We do have some Mana Rocks, Arcane Signet, Soul Ring, Gruul Signet, and Talisman of Impulse. We also have Swiftfoot Boots, 2 mana, 1 to equipped. Equipped creature has Hexproof and Haste. Smoke Bomb, 3 mana, Artifact with Flash. All creatures have Shroud, and on your upkeep, sacrifice it. When you do, target creature you control can't be blocked this turn. Savage Twister, X green-red. Sorcery deals X damage to each creature. Cactus Folk Sure Shots, 2 green-red for a 4/4 plant mercenary with reach and ward 2. At the beginning of combat on your turn, other creatures you control with power 4 or greater gain trample and haste until end of turn. Rubble Belt Rioters, 1 green-red for a 0/4 human berserker with haste. When it attacks, it gets +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. Feral Animist, 1 green-red for a 2/1 Goblin Shaman. You can pay 3 colorless to give it +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is its power. Proud Wild Bonder, 2 green-red hybrid for a 4/3 human warrior with trample. Creatures you control with trample you can have this creature deal combat damage as though it weren't blocked, getting in for unblockable damage, of course not dealing damage to the creature it blocked. Unleash Fury, 1 red for an instant, double the power of target creature until end of turn, game winning. Rush of Blood, 2 and a red, instant, target creature gets +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is its power. Scorchwalker, 3 and a red for a 5/1 elemental. It's got Blood Rush, 1 red, so you can discard it, and target attacking creature gets +5/+1 until end of turn. Viashino Sand Sprinter, 1 red for a 4/1 Viashino Warrior with Trample and Haste. At the beginning of your end step, return it to its owner's hand. It does have cycling for a red. Another great card to cast over and over again. Sprinting War Brute, 4 red for a 5/4 Ogre Berserker. Attacks each combat if able and has dash for 3 in red, so you do return it to your hand if you did pay the dash cost, which can be a benefit in this deck. Frostification, 2 in red enchantments. On your combat, choose 1. Target creature you control gets +2/+0 until end of turn, or target creature you control gains Menace and Haste until end of turn. Rising of the Day, 2 in red enchantment. Creatures you control have haste. Legendaries get an additional +1/+0. Furious Rise, 2 in red enchantment. At the beginning of your end step, you control a creature with power 4 or greater. Exile the top card of your library. You can play that card until you exile another card with this. Street Riot, 4 in red for an enchantment. As long as it's your turn, creatures you control get +1/+0 and have trample. Flames of the Razeboar, 5 in red at instant. Deals 4 damage to target creature an opponent controls. And then it deals 2 damage to each other creature that player controls if you have a creature with power 4 or greater. Goreclaw, Terror of Qualsisma, 3 and a green for a 4/3 legendary bear. Creatures with power 4 or greater cost 2 less to cast. When it attacks, each creature you control with power 4 or greater gets +1/+1 and gains trample until end of turn. Challenger Troll, 4 and a green for a 6/5 troll. Each creature you control with power 4 or greater can't be blocked by more than 1 creature. Gruul's Pack Leader, 4 and a green for a 4/4 beast. Whenever another creature with power 3 or greater enters under your control, you may draw a card. Gruul's Uprising, 2 and a green enchantment. When it enters, if you got a creature with power 4 or greater, draw a card. Creatures you control have trample, and whenever another creature with power 4 or greater enters, draw a card. Elemental Bond, 2 and a green enchantment. Whenever a creature with power 3 or greater enters under your control, draw a card. Monstrous Vortex, 3 and a green enchantment. Whenever you cast a creature spell with power 5 or greater, discover X, where X is the spell's mana value. Ram 3, 1 and a green instant. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to a creature you don't control. If that creature had trample, excess damage is dealt to that creature's controller instead. Tangle Sap, 1 and a green instant. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn by creatures without trample. Winds of Qualsisma, 1 and a green instant. Prevent all combat damage this turn. If you got a creature with power 4 or greater, instead prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn by creatures your opponents control. Hunter's Talent, 1 and a green enchantment class. Level 1, when it enters, target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to a creature you don't control. 1 and a green levels it to level 2. Whenever you attack, target attacking creature gets +1/+0 and gains trample until end of turn. 3 and a green level 3. At the beginning of your end step, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, draw a card. Gaia's Gift, 1 and a green instant. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control against reach, trample, hexproof, and indestructible until end of turn. Horrid Vigor, 1 and a green instant. Target creature gains Death Touch and indestructible until end of turn. Myconid Spore Tender, 3 and a green 4/1 fungus. When it enters, destroy an artifact or enchantment. Roar of the Challenge, 2 and a green sorcery. All creatures able to block target creature do so. If you got a creature with power 4 or greater, that creature also gains indestructible until end of turn. Bushwhack, 1 green, choose 1. Search your library for a basic land, put it in your hand, or target creature fights a creature you don't control. Utopia Sprawl, 1 green, enchants a forest, then choose a color. The forest then taps for additional mana of the chosen color. Wild Growth, 1 green, enchants a land, then that land taps for additional green. Fertile Ground, 1 green, enchants a land, then that land taps for additional mana of any color. Paradise Druid, 1 green for 2/1 Elf Druid. If it's untapped, it has hexproof, and you can tap it for mana of any color. Lithian Carotid, 1 green for 1/1 plants, taps for mana of any color. If you got a creature with power 4 or greater, it taps for 2 mana of any 1 color instead. Secure Tribuilder, 1 green for a 1/1 Snake Shaman. Sack it to search for a basic land, put on the battlefield tapped, which is like a Rampant Growth. 1 green sorcery with that same ability. Broken Bond, 1 green, destroys an artifact or enchantment, then put a land from your hand onto the battlefield. Migration Path, 3 green, searches for 2 basic lands, puts them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle with cycling 2. Peregrination, 3 green, searches for 2 basics, puts them onto the battlefield tapped, shuffle, and then scry 1. And Ranger's Path, 3 green, searches for 2 forests, puts them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Into some lands, we have Castle Embreth, enters tapped unless you control a mountain, taps for red, 1 red, tap, creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. Mosswort Bridge, Hideaway 4, so look at the top 4 cards, exile 1 of them face down under this, the rest go on the bottom of your library. Enters tap, taps for green, green tap, and play the exiled card if you got a creature, total power creatures 10 or greater. Restless Ridgeline, enters tapped, taps for green or red. 2 green red becomes a 3/4 red and green dinosaur when it attacks. Untap another target attacking creature gets +2/+0. Cinderglade, Sheltered Thicket, Game Trail, Mossfire Valley, Temple of Abandon, Kessig Wolf Run, taps for colorless, X green red and tap. Target creature gets +X/+0 and gains trample until end of turn. Rogue's Passage, taps for colorless, 4 tap, a target creature can't be blocked this turn. Gruul Turf, Bleeding Woods, Wooded Ridgeline, Racer's Ring, Command Tower, and then some basic mountains and forests. That's the deck. I hope you enjoyed it, but we'll see you next time.